All right, so why don't you tell us who you are, the company that you work at, and your position at the company?
Hi, my name is Alan Versteeg. I work for a company called Growth Matters International. We focus on sales management development. I am the co-founder and chief revenue officer responsible for driving our revenue growth and products.
Amazing. And why did you come to Command Your Brand?
I read a book called 10x is easier than 2x, around the premise of how scaling is a lot easier than trying to incrementally grow. And there
Mm.
was a mention about the importance of podcast and the mention of your founder. Did a bit of research, came across Command Your Brand, and pretty much been impressed with how they've supported us from day one.
Wow, amazing. And what was your experience like with the onboarding process?
I think the onboarding process a lot of people miss because there's some self-work, self-paced work that you need to do. But anyone listening, I'd say don't miss it because that's where the gems were. That's where I understood how to really scale the messaging, how to get that to market, how to not just be on podcasts, but turn that into a media engine for you. So
Mm.
that was definitely important for me. The onboarding process was smooth, but then they give you some self-paced learning to do. And I wouldn't miss it out just because it's self-paced, really valuable.
Right. And what value did you receive in your onboarding?
I think it was exactly that. So the fact that your founder is, on those videos and sharing all of the tips and tricks that he's learned over the years, just about how to be on a podcast, how to manage a podcast, how to be better prepared. When you're out for the first time on it, it's can be somewhat daunting.
Mm.
Getting used to speaking to people across cameras, and then also knowing, is this worthwhile? Is anyone getting to my message? Is the show I'm on the right show? But when you take that media, which is a tip that came on the onboarding, when you tape that media and you spread that across different channels and leverage that which you've created, you get a far greater return on your time on those podcasts.
Exactly. And what results did the program create in your business?
I'd say the number one is visibility. So I've got many comments from many people saying, geez, you've been really active on LinkedIn, which is our primary channel. But effectively, what I do is I have two or three podcasts a week arranged by Command Your Brand. Once those go live for all the video based ones, we splice that content up. We create sound bites. We get it onto our primary social platform, LinkedIn. So a lot of commentary, a lot of visibility for kind of my role, which is the revenue officer for the business. So
Mm.
that's been the big win for us is really in a natural frame, not a scripted or, overly marketing based approach. There's real natural sound bites that come from the podcast that can be leveraged for visibility.
Amazing. And this is going to be a funny thing, but how was your experience working with the PR team? How was that for you?
Yeah, as with the rest of the team is really phenomenal because what they're doing is they take on that responsibility for you. So, sometimes even if you're a smaller organization or large organization, it comes across very professionally that you have a PR person that's on point for you. And then they manage if there are cancellations or life happens or things don't go according to plan, they know how to professionally manage that with the shows that they're preparing you for. And vice versa. Sometimes the shows might have some challenges. So it's good to have a points person so you know that everything's running as it should, and also making sure they're getting you on the right shows at the right time in your calendar for the right audience.
Amazing. And how did appearing on a podcast help your messaging?
I think what it did is allowed me to find a very authentic voice. I naturally speak a lot. I'm on stage a lot. I have a lot of conversations, but I find when I'm trying to do that in a non-dialogue approach or a non-presenting approach, it starts to feel a bit rigid and structured. So my messaging has really been stronger because now there's authenticity to my voice. I didn't realize I had so many one-liners in my head, and I don't mean jokes, but I mean kind of, valuable punchlines.
Yeah.
So I think my messaging has really helped me gain trust in the fact that I value to bring to the markets that I serve and the audiences that are listening.
Awesome. And was there a show for you that was like, wow, that was like the best show? And I'd love to take your experience. Like, how was your experience with what that show for you?
Yeah, I mean there are many great shows, and it's always difficult to pull out one. But one that I'm recently on, which is called Cut the Tie, was really close to home for me. It was about entrepreneurs wanting to start their own business but not sure how. So I found it quite personally valuable to me because it got me to reflect on the journey we've gone through and how we had to eventually drive growth in our business and decide to 10x the business and leverage all the different tools. So I found that show was natural, connected with the host, But there were many that were really strong and great, and a lot of that is the host and the audience. Um, because I appreciate it when it's a natural conversation. Some have scripted questions, but often you'll see it going into kind of very natural conversation type style. But that one was the one that's most recent and stands out for me.
Awesome. And is there anything else you have to communicate in your experience working with Command Your Brands?
Yeah, I think the key thing is if you're thinking of doing it on your own, there's another great Dan Sullivan book called "It's Growth is About Who, Not How."
Mm,
And often what we try and do as entrepreneurs or people trying to get a voice out to the market, going, surely this can't be that hard. Surely I can open up a Zoom channel, find a guest. And I don't think you understand the PR and logistics and also the credibility behind the scenes because Command Your Brand has credibility. I mean, just on the show Cut the Tie, he said he's very exclusive about the guests he brings on board, but he always trusts the guests that come from Command Your Brand.
mm.
So I'd be saying to them, even if you're thinking of doing it on your own, it's going to delay the rate at which you can grow. Find the right who, the who for now, who not how, and the who not how for me is Command Your Brand.
Awesome. And would you recommend Command Your Brands?
Definitely not. No, I'm kidding. So which I'd
Uh,
highly recommend Command Your Brand if you're getting into the space, wanting to get visibility, wanting to get on the right shows, wanting a PR person to support you, wanting to know how to leverage your media, and I can go on. 100% I'd recommend Command Your Brand.
awesome.